Good evening. So for this tackle talk tonight, I'm gonna get a little sentimental with you guys because I've been stewing on this one for a while in terms of just doing a tackle talk about the baits that mean the most to me, some of which you've seen in my videos, some of which maybe you haven't seen in my videos. I don't know. Some of these are old, and some of them are newer, but at the same time, I'll try and insert some footage of some of these fish where I can find them, and you know, showcase how cool some of these catches were, and maybe try and relive these moments a little bit with all of you. But I guess I'm trying to think of where I want to start with this one. I suppose let's start with Callies Lures. I think that's a good place to start. So I remember being in Hayward with Callie many times. Well, obviously, like that's kind of where, you know, that's one of the first places that our relationship really like fostered, and kind of we got to spend a lot of concentrated time together in the boat, in the cabin, all the things. And I remember she bought this bulldog in Hayward Bait and Tackle because it was pink and thought it was cool. Well, lo and behold, this little Reg Pro Dog that is just looking like it's on its last legs in his hamburger would catch her biggest tiger. So that's pretty cool, and has also caught her a couple other muskies in some pretty tough conditions, times where, you know, we needed a fish and this thing pulled through. This thing's also fed us a few times, so you can't beat that. And I just very fondly remember chucking that thing around that evening, or her chucking it around. I had been doing well on a toad that day, and she just like chucked that thing off a break, and just the rod loaded up, and it was that huge tiger. So not huge, but I mean really nice fish. And you know, it's really hard to beat the natural Wisconsin tigers. So yeah, that's kind of where I'll start with that. I'm sure that I have some footage of that fish included in here. So this is another bait that was Callies that's been repaired a couple of times, that I think I've even caught on a couple of times too. But this is the first ghost walleye Deusa that I've ever owned. And Callie thought that this was the ticket one day when we hit up this lake in September that's very nearby here, and she caught a really nice fish. I don't know if it was 45 inches or 44 and a half. I don't even remember at this point, and to be quite honest, it doesn't really matter all that much. All I know is whether by just like me thinking I had something figured out, or me actually having something figured out, I don't really know. But the previous couple weekends, I had kind of honed in on a moon phase that the fish seemed to be more active during. So we made sure to be on my favorite spot, my best spot on the lake at that time. And Jaron was actually out there on the same lake that day and lost a fish just before Callie hooked up. So unfortunately for Jaron, he didn't get his, but Callie got hers. And it was that beautiful, like whatever it was, 44 and a half, 45 inch Iowa muskie. Gorgeous, gorgeous, thick fall fish. And that was the fish that really like sealed the deal for me to no longer use fluorocarbon, because that fish had this thing absolutely crunched. And I remember feeling the fluorocarbon after cutting all the hooks on that fish, and I was like, man, if that thing had fought for literally like 15 more seconds, it would have sawed right through that fluorocarbon leader. So yeah, that was the fish that really changed my mind. So that's pretty much why I use Pandemonium Roswell leaders for almost all applications at this point in time. And then I do use the Stealth little ones, the spring leaders, for certain applications in the spring. So where to go from here? We can, well, so on the relationship side of things with Callie, or marriage, fostering, all the things, this is a Lee Lure's flaptail that's gotten chewed and abused and is looking a little worse for wear, and I don't really throw it anymore. and I don't know really if I'll ever throw it again. It's also a real fickle turd, and I don't know if all of Lee's flaps are that way. But this one, there is a very definitive cadence to it that you have to be reeling in at that speed, and you know the speed because you can hear it in the bait. But if you're not on that speed, then the bait is not working the way it needs to work. And yeah, but anyway, the reason I'm showing this one is, so this is tied to another Hayward memory where I actually proposed to Callie on the lake that night. And for whatever strange reason, this was the bait that I decided to throw at sundown after Callie had said yes. And, you know, Callie's brother just happened to be in the boat with us, so we were all fishing, and a really nice fish, you know, chomped it. It just like came rocketing out of the water. It was just absolutely bananas. I'll try and find a clip of it. I think that I have one. And it was like one of those moments where the muskies just decide for you that something cool is going to happen, and something cool does. And I don't know. It's like you wouldn't be able to script it if you tried. I didn't measure the fish. I don't know. We tried to measure it. It was hooked kind of wonky, which is why I've got a different front hook on it now, because I had to cut that other hook out of there, and it was just a mess. So by the time we did that, I didn't even really measure it. It probably would have been my PB at the time, but I don't even know, and it really doesn't matter because I've caught fish bigger than that now. But it was just such a cool moment because like you get engaged to the love of your life, and then you get this fish that just decides it wants to kill something right at sundown. It's just like the most perfect thing of all time. And you know, muskies are not very kind a lot of the time, but every now and then they they throw you a bone, and that was one of those nights. Let's see, where do I want to go from here? I think I got to go to the Ridgway. We'll kind of tie the Hayward thing together, and Callie and all the things. So Callie and her dad were fishing with me the day that I got this in the mail. I got it from Matt, and I was like, holy cow, this thing is big. He sent it to me in Hayward. I was up there at the time, and I was like, oh man, I don't know where or how I'm gonna throw this thing. But we decided to go hit like an afternoon moon phase. I don't know if it was major or minor. It doesn't really matter. But I knew that I wanted to be on the water then. They both were able to go with me. And I was in the front of the boat, so I put this thing on. And literally, I'm not even kidding you, it was my third cast with this bait. My second biggest Wisconsin muskie came up and just absolutely cranked it. Tried to pull the rod out of my hands. All the things, like, it was just absolutely bananas. It was like one of the most insane fights. Callie was awesome on the net, per the usual. And the coolest thing about that fish is, after looking at the photos and realizing it had this like weird divot thing out of its back, I caught that fish the previous year on, I believe it was a Mayhem 910 combo. And it was 44 inches then. And then the following year I caught it on this, and it was 45 and a half. So, you know, just really cool to catch a fish twice like that. I don't know if that big girl is still alive. If she is, she's the queen of that lake at this point. But yeah, just a super cool memory. Now this bait has been repainted once. It's got, you know, a couple of 45 plus inches to its name. I couldn't even tell you how many between 40 and 45, and I couldn't even tell you how many between 35 and 40. This bait itself has probably somewhere between 30 and 35 fish on it. I don't know exactly how many. I would have to go back and count if I even have pictures of all of them. I don't know. But this is the bait that changed the game for me as far as Ridgway Customs go. Matt's an awesome dude. He puts out incredible lures. I've told him since day one I'll quit throwing his stuff when it stops working, and hasn't stopped working yet. So that's why I keep chucking it. Here, let's see. So kind of in the same Ridgway line, Iowa line, I guess. I'll show you my favorite topwater bait of all time. And this is the little sister from Callies Tackle. This is the first one that I ever bought, the first one I've ever owned. It has a lot of fish on it. I don't know exactly how many fish are on this little sister. What I do know is that my dad caught the biggest fish that I've ever seen in person on it, and has caught many others. I don't know what kind of mojo my father has with this lure, but he's got some serious mojo. There was a fall that he threw this lure, and he caught, I think it was 8 or 9 fish with it that fall. And the average, keep in mind, these are all Iowa fish. The average was 42.5 inches out of the 8 fish. The smallest was 35, the largest was 49.25. So, if you don't have a little sister, I would definitely consider buying one. And I've got a Canadian video that, if that doesn't influence your opinion of the little sister, that Canadian video should help. But yeah, this thing is responsible for some cool memories, not only with my dad, obviously those ones are paramount, but Connor and I have had some really good memories with these, Barry as well. Barry and I had a good one this fall actually with the little sister. It didn't involve a fish, but it was a funny memory where as you age, your eyesight tends to it tends to get a little bit worse and worse, and your depth perception, especially in low light conditions, is not what it once was. So Barry zinged one out one morning and we didn't hear a splash, so we had to go fishing for it in the trees, and it was just one of those moments where it's just like a funny fishing deal where, you know, it happens. It happens on the water, it always does, but little sister is always a great topwater choice. It may be small, but it packs a real serious punch. I guess like transitioning back to the Hayward thing, I guess that's kind of a thing that is just, it's gonna keep kind of resurfacing as it comes full circle, because like in Hayward, that's kind of where I learned to musky fish, from Callie's dad and her grandpa, and like some other individuals there, like Jay and Alex, and geez, I don't even know. But you know, if it weren't for all those guys and all those people taking me out and being patient with me, I probably would not be the musky fisherman that I am today. So I appreciate all of them greatly and their patience with me as I learned to do something completely off the wall and different as I chase big fish with teeth. But this is probably the coolest bait, like in terms of a musky memory that I have. So this is just your standard 6.75 Mini X. And I got it because it was this walleye pattern. It's got some foil, but the foil's kind of yellowed because it's old. Callie and her grandparents and I were at the cabin, and for whatever reason related to scheduling, or I don't know, it was just a weird confluence of events where it was just her grandparents and us, which doesn't happen very often up there. And we were lucky to really have that time with them. But there was one afternoon, it's funny because Jaron actually, he was staying north of us, and he came down that morning to fish with us, or fish with me, and there was just nothing happening. You know those mornings where it's like high bright skies, nothing happening, fish the moon phase, nothing, don't see a fish. Jaron thinks I'm an idiot for even inviting him down and bringing him out. But anyway, we decided, because like Callie's grandma wanted to go for a boat ride, and you know, Daryl was just wanting to be on the water, so we just decided we were gonna go troll. And like, I think that was about the time that the like line thing changed, or the trolling regulation changed in Hayward, or the northern zone of Wisconsin. So yeah, we decided to go troll, and I had never trolled before. I just was like, screw it, we're gonna give it a shot and see what happens. So we went out during the major, and it was kind of one of those deals where in the worst case scenario, we're gonna go for a boat ride, have a few beers, and enjoy some time with Callie's grandparents. And the Muskies had different plans. So we were trolling this on one of my favorite spots. It's a very steep break, and the first pass we got completely bogged down, and just like we had to clear all the lines. I cut it too close, and it was just terrible. I'm not a troller. I don't ever claim to be, but you know, when you've got two people in your boat that are over 80 years old and you're trying to get them a fish, well, you do what you can with what you got. So so then we tried that pass again and got reset, and rod goes off, and it's just like bouncing. I'm like, oh man, we probably just like absolutely smoked that weed bed again. And then the rod keeps bouncing, and I'm like, oh, that's a fish. So I like throw the boat in neutral really fast, and we go back and grab the rod. Daryl's just like fighting that fish like a pro back there, and we get it in the bag, we net it, and it tied his personal best. I don't know if it was 44.5 or 45. I don't know, whatever his personal best was. When we bumped it, that's what he said, it tied his best. So I thought that was super cool. And yeah, like just randomly going out one day, and then you just never trolling before, happen into a fish like that. So we get the fish gets released, everything's fine. We get reset. We've got a little time left in the major. So literally the next point, so it kind of like the cove kind of like cups in, and it's a super steep break, and so there's a point, and then super steep break cups in, and then there's a point, you know, a flatter point that I've also seen fish caught fish. Never had caught them trolling there. So then we hit that point because it was just the next logical thing to hit. Rod goes off again. Same bait, same rod, same speed, same all the things. Hand the rod to Callie's grandma. Boom. I think it was 37 incher. Because Daryl was adamant it was 36, and Callie was adamant it was like 38, and it ended up being right in the middle. But both of Callie's grandparents got a muskie on this bait. My first time trolling. I don't know. Sometimes the muskie gods just have a plan of their own, and that was one of those days. And that was a heavy day, because like Callie's grandpa passed not very long after that. I think it was maybe a year after that he passed away, and he got his last muskie with us, having fished at that cabin most of his adult life. All the things, showed me spots, showed me how to fish for muskies, talked about it all the time. He's got a little lure man cave thing that this one needs to go in, I think, or maybe I'll hang it on one of his mounts downstairs. I'm not really sure in their house, but that was a really cool memory, really heavy memory. But yeah, just one of those things. Like not to rag on bass fishing, but bass don't do that. They don't. So the last one that I'm going to talk about is just kind of, it's not random. It might feel that way or seem that way, but the last one I'm going to talk about is TNA Angry Dragon. And the reason that this one is special is because, so my brother-in-law has spent, again, a lot of time at the cabin, has fished for muskies, has caught muskies not musky fishing, but has never like caught one intentionally musky fishing. And I don't have one here. I should have included a swim dog, because that's like a thing that basically, you know, there's so many fish that have been caught on the swim dog up there that are like first muskies, first fish. But, you know, his wife got one the year before with me, a tiger. Beautiful fish on the swim dog right at the boat. It just came up and cranked it. I'll see if I can find some footage of that. But that was awesome. And, you know, he still hadn't had one to his name. So I believe it was the summer after his grandpa passed, Daryl passed away. So Daryl had this spot on the lake that the cabin is on that I would always fish. It's a good spot. It's like it's two sunken reefs that are, you know, adjoining. It's like the most obvious musky spot in the entire world, so they just get absolutely pounded to death. And I've never, up to that point, I had never really seen any nice fish, caught any nice fish there. But we, you know, again, the afternoon major thing can be a thing, and we were just fishing through the spot, and I was like, you know, it's one of those deals where we haven't had a lot going on, and if something's gonna happen, it's gonna happen now, and it's gonna happen on a big fish spot, and this is a big fish spot. And like, no sooner did those words leave my mouth than, you know, DP had a really nice fish just come up and absolutely inhale that thing right in front of him. And it actually broke his reel. Like, he set the hook on the fish. The fish tried to pull drag. The fish trying to pull drag broke the clutch of that. I think it was a Daiwa Win. Not affiliated with Daiwa. After that day, I probably don't think I ever would be. But it broke the clutch right off of that reel. So he had like no leverage. He couldn't like reel in the fish. We were basically like hand lining the thing in. And we get it in the bag, and I was just like so worked up. I made a terrible net job, but it got in there, and we got it, you know, out, unhooked, picks, all the things, and it was just like a cool full circle moment, because up to that point I'd never even seen a really nice one on that spot. I'd seen a few like smaller fish here or there, but I'd never actually caught or seen a fish on that spot myself. So, and that was the one that DP's grandpa, Callies' grandpa, would always talk about, that there was giant fish there, always. So it was just kind of funny how that all worked out. But yeah, hopefully I can recover all the footage that I need to break down all these baits. I got a little long-winded with it, but taking a trip down memory lane never hurts, especially when it's cool stuff like musky baits. So yeah. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you watching and dealing with my fish tales and stories, and hopefully I threw enough other footage in there to make it somewhat interesting. But yeah, no, some cool stuff, some heavy stuff, and a lot of fishing, and that's why we do it. So anyway, if you like the tackle talks, please let me know. Appreciate you all watching, especially if you made it this far. I don't even know how long this is, but yeah, good luck in 25. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.